No, that didn't work. F10. Do you want to introduce in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1?
Do I want to introduce? Maybe. Yes, why not? Welcome to another Easy Company tutorial cast. I think it was the name that we settled on. With me, Twitch and Grey Knight. Hello, Grey Knight.
Absolutely. Hello, indeed. Your voice completely changed to kind of for some random reason. Then, anyway, Twitch, what are we covering in this episode of Episodeness?
In this episode of tutorial casty thing, we will be covering capturing stuff and base buildings and first positioning of the first units. And the opening parts of the game, right? That's the thing that we're going to be talking about. First 5 or 10 minutes, capping orders and all that good stuff. So
right then, let's get this road on the show then. So
fantastic. Shall we start again? Let's start again.
Yeah, let's start again. Why not? 5, 4, 3, 2, bananas.
Bananas, indeed. Okay, I've got my lemonade ready. It's from Asda. It's Smart Price lemonade, so I'm a happy boy. And I've got Grey Knight here. Hello, Grey Knight.
Hello, Grey Knight.
Hi, and we're here to do another tutorial cast type thing.
Mm-hmm.
And this tutorial cast is all about capturing maps, the map control, about the different types of points you've got, first building you might produce. So really looking at the aspects of the first 5 minutes of the game and around about map control and how that's important and what things you need to look out for.
Absolutely.
Anything you want to add to that, Gray?
Probably the first 5 minutes of the game is probably the most important 5 minutes of the game. You do start your game with a engineer squad if you're playing as the Americans. Available to you is the HQ, the headquarters, and you can build some engineers. So there's several strats. You can either build a second engineer squad, which I've done here, which is probably the most common starting build order. You can also not do that, and you can just build either a barracks or WSC from the start. Or you could alternatively go for a kind of marine strategy of the 4 engineer start, which you might have seen.
Complex.
Yeah, that is probably the most advanced start lineup for the US.
For the Wehrmacht, you could just build pioneers to tier 4. No, you can, and you see it done. But normally you want to go and try and get their first building out, which would be the Wehrmacht quarters. Probably a 2-player start again, build the Wehrmacht quarters, but you can do ultimately a number of different types to start with Wehrmacht. I think it's quite slightly more varied, I'd say, than the US. And again, it's down to personal preference, I think, and in some respects the map as well.
Yeah, you might wonder why we're talking about these different opening build orders and things like that. There is a reason. You see, if you don't build a second engineer squad, you have that extra manpower. So when you build your when you build your barracks, which I'm just about to do now, you'll have the 270 a lot faster, and the second squad you will get out a lot faster as well. You won't have to wait for manpower for that to build. So generally, as a general rule, if you go with a 1 engineer start, you'll be able to get your riflemen on the field a lot faster. You'll have more riflemen basically. If you go for the 2 engineer start, you tend to have to wait for manpower, which means your riflemen, the amount of riflemen you have on the field, is slightly delayed. So what about the Wehrmacht?
Yeah, well, I just want to talk about that a little bit more. There are some merits as well to getting the barracks and going 1 engineer start, and that really comes down to the capping speed of the rifleman, which we'll come to in a little bit. But you may find that you can actually gain a little bit more map control, or the map control itself could be roughly even. I'd like to go and actually try that at some point, because the rifleman can capture points a little bit faster. So we'll come to that later on.
Absolutely. The default start for the Americans, as I said, is you get your engineer squad you start off with and you build 1. That is because it gives you a good capping speed. You can send this squad off to cap while your first squad builds that that barracks, and when that's finished you can cap the alternate side of the map if you choose to do so, and cap that fuel up that side of the map as well. And the way it's kind of structured at the start of the game, you'll be able to quickly get that 270 manpower roughly around the time your barracks hits the floor, and is built properly. So it's smooth. It's got a smooth flow to it, which is why the American players like to have that dual engineer start. You can have a more advanced strategy, as mentioned previously, of the 4 engineer start, and that is when you don't build a barracks. You just build about 4 engineers and go around capping the map. Now, the benefit of that strategy is obviously you gain very early game map control, and you can also use mines and wire up the map quite effectively, because you've got 4 squads that can do that, and as opposed to just the 2. So it's very map dependent. You've got to have a map with a lot of choke points. You can use the wire and the tank traps and the mines effectively, and of course you've not got the support from rifles, so it's very high level play strategy. And if you're new to Company Heroes, you probably want to kind of give that a rest until you're comfortable with the standard 2 engineer start. And I also have lemonade with wine as well.
With wine?
Thought I'd throw that in there.
I think they call that a spritzer.
Mm-hmm.
Where have you placed your barracks? When you place your first unit, you should, in my mind, you place it as near to the edge of your HQ as is humanly possible, and the nearest point to where you want to start capturing, or where you want to start controlling the map the most. And the reason for that is that you're probably going to build quite a lot of units out of your first building, whether it be WSC, or whether it be a barracks, or whether it be a Wehrmacht quarters. And it means that your units will have a lot less time to travel to the battlefield, or to the front, or to the first point to go and capture. And as you're building more units out of that first building than any other building probably, you will have a greater advantage of having that nearer to the edge of the map, rather than nearer to your barracks, nearer to your HQ, where you can start building it immediately.
Absolutely, Twitch.
Although you can build it quicker because it's nearer to your HQ, the fact that you actually build it closer to the edge means that longer term you'll be in a better time advantage by placing your first building closer to the edge of your HQ area.
So what you're saying, Twitch, that your rifles can get on the front of the field faster?
Correct.
Absolutely.
Because it takes you time to travel from your HQ, or from your HQ to the edge of the map, to the edge of your HQ area. It only takes about, on Langris, which is what the map we're on at the moment, and from the northern point, it takes about 10 to 11 seconds to get there. And time is critical, especially in the first 5 minutes.
I'm going to delete that barracks, and I'm going to place it into a sufficient area of what you're saying. So I've built this barracks now where Twitch has just said now on the front line. That'll allow me to get my units to the front line faster where I need them, as opposed to where I did build it first. So it's a few seconds of an advantage, but over this period of the 4 squads, that time does build up, and it does make a difference. Not only that, many players make the mistake of building the barracks too close to their headquarters, which means if enemy artillery, off-map artillery, gets put on there, your infantry will take a lot of damage. When you retreat to where my engineers are now, in front of the HQ, so that's a prime target for enemy artillery. So if you've got damaged squads, you don't want to reinforce them at the HQ, you want to move them out to your barracks in a safe area here, where the enemy is less likely to deploy that off-map artillery, and reinforce from here. On this map in particular, this point here is a heavily contested munitions point, as well as this strategic point here. If I built my barracks here where I can use this green cover and reinforce my infantry from this position if those 2 positions get attacked. My barracks was over here, I wouldn't be able to do that. So there's a number of advantages from correct barracks positioning.
Indeed. And if you've retreated your rifles, or whatever units you've got, and you want to reinforce them, start the reinforcement off at the HQ, but move the units up towards the front by the barracks for exactly the same reason. They're going to be sitting around doing nothing apart from reinforcing back at the HQ. And if you're doing it by the barracks, Well, basically, they'll be quicker to the field. Remember that 10 seconds it takes from HQ to the front of your HQ area on this particular map. How would you go about selecting very quick? If you want to go and build an engineer very quickly or a PIO very, very quickly, how would you go about selecting the HQ? Shush, you know the answer, right? don't just hold back. I'm going to ask the question, then you can fire it in. How would you go about selecting the HQ? There's a number of different ways you can go about doing it.
I don't know.
What's your preference?
I'm just joking. Right, so to the shortcut key. Am I allowed to tell them?
Yeah.
All right. Okay. The shortcut. The shortcut key for the HQ is F1.